divide by, or add by something and subtract by. Alright? But you need to write it down very carefully. This one involves a very careful writing. Okay? And then I will give extra credit. Let's talk a little bit more specifically. Anthony said that the last one was just multiply by 8 and divide by 8. What do you mean by multiply by 8 and divide by 8? How did you get that? It was add 2 times 12 minus 9 times 2 minus 21 divide by 3 minus 3 divide by 8. So I see that last divide by 8.
That is like the entire equation before you finally divide by 8. You're getting the exact same number that you would when you multiply the original number by 8. And then when you just divide it, you get the exact same number you started with.
Alright, so it's essentially all the add 2 times 12 minus 9 times 2 minus 21 divide by 3 minus 3. You're saying this really just means multiply by 8?
Pretty much.
How do you know that? How can you tell that? Can you prove that?
Because when you multiply the original equation by 8, you get the exact same number.
Alright, so it was plus 2 times 12 minus 9 times 2 minus 21 divide by 3 minus 3. How does that turn into? Let's talk with your partner very quickly. Anthony hypothesizes that this means multiply by 8. It doesn't look like multiply by 8 to me. How can we check that he's correct? I believe him, but how can we check that he's correct? Okay?
I multiply my first number by 8 and got the number I would get after all that.
Okay, so you could try your number, right? You could try your number times 8 and then check the second to last line in your last trick. So everybody, let's try that real quick. So on the third trick, take your original number, multiply it by 8, right? And then look back through your list of numbers and see if that's the second to last number. Right, so multiply your original number times 8.
Which number?
Right, and see if that's your second to last number. Does that work?
Yes.
Right? That works, right? Is there a way that we could, so it works for every number that we chose originally, right? Leah chose 9. Brandon, what did you choose? 27. Sherry, what did you choose? 11. It works for all of those numbers. Is it possible there's a number it doesn't work for? It could be negative numbers, could be 0, right? We're not sure. Is there a way we can check whether this means multiply by 8 for every number? How can we see if this means multiply by 8 for any number? Well, first of all, what do we have to think about? How do we say in math class any number? A variable. What variable could we use? So on your paper, I want you to choose x as your number and see what this does. See what this does if we choose x. And we don't want it to just work for 27 and 11 and 9. We want to see if it works for any number. Okay, so on your paper, choose any number. And by any number, I mean something very specific. What do I mean when I say any number? Not any number, x. Okay, because x means any number, but we don't know it yet. So what happens if we choose x and we do all of this?
You know what we gotta do? I think we gotta do X.
How would you calculate exactly?
What will this look like? And be very careful. There's something you have to be very careful about when you're writing this down. What do you have to be careful about to write this down? No. You don't always. But you have to be careful about something. What do you have to be very careful about if we're writing this down? So x plus 2 is the first part, right? But what's the next step? What should we write to mean the next step? No, why 2x? Does x plus 2 mean 2x?
No.
What does x plus 2 mean?
A number plus 2.
Any number plus 2. What does 2x mean?
That means a number multiplied by
A number multiplied by 2. So they're not the same thing. So how can I say this times 12? What happens if I write times 12? What does that mean?
That means you multiply 3 times.
Sorry.
You might multiply 2 times 12 instead of doing it in order.
Right. So what do we have to be careful of? There's some mathematical term that we have to be careful of. There. So we should use parentheses in order to not mess up the what?
The order of operations.
The order of operations, right? The order of operations says do multiplication first. Do we want to do the multiplication first? No. So we want to not just write times 12. We want to put parentheses and then multiply by 12. And then what do we, now I want you to start there and continue on, okay, for the whole thing. So you missed the order of operations. Because it's not, so,
I kind of did the equation, but didn't put down.
I know, but you weren't paying attention just now.
Alright.
X plus 2 times 12 doesn't mean X plus 24.
So
How do I write x plus 2 and then divide by 12?
So it's literally on the, but it's exactly what I was just doing. Right, look at the board.
So it's 12x plus 24.
Not just X plus 24.
So 12x plus 24?
Right, but on your paper, what do you have?
X plus 24.
Okay.
Teachers and students, please pardon this interruption. We are looking for Leora Fabiyi. If she's in the building, please have a report to the main office immediately. Thank you.
Where should we write the minus 9? Behind the parentheses. Alright, there's the minus 9.
and I see the times 2.
You don't, you distribute 12.
I am sorry.
Oh, you can't do it. You wanna should just do the equation, you wanna say.
The whole thing.
What about versus you always
It doesn't matter to me.
distribute?
This is bad.
I don't know.
No, I apologize. That's fine. Yep, that's fine. So let me show you what, so here's what Daria has. Right, so minus 9, right? Then all of that,
No.
that's fine,
The minus 9
times 2,
inside the bracket.
it doesn't matter, that's okay.
Oh.
And all of that times 2. All of that minus 21. Okay. All of that over 3. And then all of that minus 3. Does everybody follow that? This is pretty ugly though.
Yes.
Alright, so if you don't have this yet, write it down, and then take the next step. What's the next step after we have this ugly thing? What do you think we could do with this ugly thing? Not exactly solve. There's no equal sign right now. So we can't solve it, but what could we do? We could distribute. Alright, so we want to start all the way inside. Can we add x and 2?
No, so
No. So we're going to distribute 12 times x and 12 plus 2.
I didn't
12x plus what?
24.
24.
And then that minus 9.
And then what's 12x plus 24 minus 9? (12x plus 24 minus 9). Ever okay with 15? No? We're having trouble with our subtraction.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of having both the brackets and the parentheses?
Nothing really. Right? What's the next step after we have that? So Multiply what, today?
No, wait.
Distribute. Distribute what?
Two.
Distribute the 2. So what's 2 times 12x? And what's 2 times 15? Hey, Damien, what's next?
Minus 21.
Minus 21. So what minus 21?
30.
Good. What's 30 minus 21? So,
19.
24x minus plus 9. What's next? Amaya? Divide by 3. So what's 24x divided by 3? 8x. And what's 9 divided by 3? 3. And then what's next, Nicholas? Subtract 3 from what? So 3 minus 3 is 0. So all that's left is exactly what Anthony said. All of that really just meant multiply by 8. And then the last step in the problem was just divide by 8. It is a really complicated way of saying multiply by 8.
I don't understand how you can multiply. You see how the number had the variable next to it, and we could divide it, but we couldn't like add and subtract. I didn't understand why.
Okay, so good question. We can't add 12x plus 15 because they're not like terms,
Right.
right? So this might mean, for instance, this could be, think about it as a dozen. Can you think about a dozen eggs or something? This means 12 dozen plus 15 eggs, right? Can you add 12 dozen plus 15 and get 27 dozen? Do you just get 27 eggs?
Yeah.
You just get 12 dozen plus 15, is that 27 eggs?
No, we can't.
You can't add them together,
Yeah.
right? Or 24 dozen plus 9 eggs. You can't add 24 dozen plus 9, right? But if you have 24 dozen plus 9 and you divide them amongst 3 people,
Oh, okay.
then each person will get 8 dozen and 3 eggs. You can divide dozens by 3 and you can divide eggs by 3. Does that make sense? So you can multiply and you can divide unlike terms. You can't add and subtract unlike terms. Alright, is everybody ready for some magic?